In our third example, we have a geometric sequence with the following two terms given. U sub 2 is equal to 6, and U sub 5 is equal to 162. Oh, excuse me, negative 6. U sub 2 is equal to negative 6. U sub 5 is equal to 162. We want to find its general term, and that's a way of saying find what U sub n is equal to, or that's like saying find the equation for the general term. So we're going to use basically our skeleton of our equation. U sub n is equal to U sub 1 times r to the n minus 1 power. That's the general formula, and we're going to basically use each of these facts and substitute them into our equation and then combine those equations to get out the missing information. So let's take our first fact, our first element here in our sequence, our first term, and we'll say that U sub 2 is equal to U sub 1 times r to the, this would be 2 minus 1 power, or that's equal to U sub 2 is going to equal U sub 1 times r, since this is just r to the first power. All right, that's one equation. I still don't have any more information, but I've now simplified as far as I can with that one. Now let's take this second piece of information, and we could say that U sub 5 is equal to U sub 1 times r to the 5 minus 1 power, or U sub 5 is going to equal U sub 1 to the times r to the 4th power. So this is basically, again, using this formula, plugging in the information that I have here. And actually, I should take this one step further. I know what U sub 5 is. That's 162. That's going to equal U sub 1 times r to the 4th power. And I guess I forgot to do that over here with my other piece of information. U sub 2 is equal to negative 6. So negative 6 will equal U sub 1 times r. So now I can combine both of these pieces of information together, and I'm going to use elimination. But now, rather than adding up equations as you've seen before with arithmetic examples, or even when you're solving a system of equations, if I wanted to cancel out one of these variables, I'm going to actually have to divide these equations. So I'm going to take this equation here, and I'm going to divide that into my second equation. So I'll divide this whole 162 equals U sub 1 times r to the 4th divided by negative 6 equals U sub 1 times r. And what's going to happen here is I'm going to eliminate my U sub 1 terms. So I'll divide 162 by negative 6, and that is equal to 27. Actually, that's negative 27. And that's going to equal r to the 4th over r, which is equal to r to the 3rd power. So I've almost found what my common ratio is. Now all I need to do is take the cube root of both sides. And the cube root of negative 27 is negative 3. So negative 3 equals r. So this is big. So now that I have an r, I need to now find what my U sub 1 term is. So we're going to take that r, and we're going to plug this back into one of my equations. Let's plug it into this equation right here. So negative 6, let's go one more color here. Lots of colors. So negative 6 is going to equal U sub 1 times r, and we said r is equal to negative 3. Now I can solve for U sub 1, and U sub 1 is going to equal positive 2. Since I divide both sides by negative 3, and I get U sub 1 equals 2. Now that I have a U sub 1 and I have an r, I'm ready to write the general term formula. So U sub n, any general term in this geometric sequence, is going to equal 2 times negative 3 to the n minus 1 power. And we've done it. So a lot of legwork, but we were able to go through, combine these equations, come up with an r, plug it back in, come up with the U sub 1, and that's all that we need to do to find the general term. Why don't you try this example where I give you two different elements of the geometric sequence and go through those same steps to see if you can't find the equation for the general term. And this equation turns out to be equal to U sub n is going to equal 3 times 2 to the n minus 1 power.